Part 40. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 393. When Nuan saw Han Qian, he quickly stood up and gave up his seat, and gave Han Qian a glass of water. Han Qian did not sit down and frowned. What went wrong? Operating mode. Give me the documents and follow me to the operations department. Han Qian left the office, and when Nuan, who was wearing a brown and white suit and wearing high heels, followed behind him. He asked in a low voice if he could go to the general department in such an aggressive manner. Han Qian stopped, turned around and handed the document in his hand to Nuan, then stretched out his hands and patted Nuan's arm, saying seriously, "Sometimes, don't be too precious about words. Then you go to the operations department, throw this document in front of the operations manager, and ask the manager if you can still do it. If you can't, get out immediately." Nuan was immediately frightened and whispered, "Is this possible? Teaching someone a lesson in front of so many employees? You just gave them too many smiles. Now that Lin Zongheng is back, you must be strong. After the operation plan is made to your satisfaction, you can give them sweet dates." I'll try." Arriving at the operations department, Han Qian stood outside the door without following him. Not long after, a warm and cold scolding came out, and Han Qian sighed after hearing this. It's not a character after all. Don't look at this girl who is cold in front of outsiders. She doesn't know how to train people at all. Not long after, Nuan came out of the operations department, with a flushed face and a little joy in her eyes, and waved to Han Qian. He shook his fist. "What are you looking at? Let me beat you up." Han Qian chuckled. "What did you say? Give me a satisfactory result in 3 days, otherwise he will resign." "That's right. You have to remember one sentence. If a civil servant talks, the general will break his legs. Let's go. Let's have lunch, bibimbap. I'm a little greedy. Let's go." When it came to eating, Nuan was more active than anyone else. The two of them walked side by side to the elevator. Unexpectedly, a row of heads popped out of the door of the operations department, curiously watching who melted the iceberg in the company. In the elevator, Han Qian and Wen said joking, when Nuan didn't care about the elevator monitoring at all. He groped around Han Qian's body, found a cigarette in his pants pocket, took out half of it and threw it on the ground, whispering, "The blood clot in your head hasn't dispersed yet, and you smoke half a pack a day. Why don't we skip work in the afternoon? I want to show Mom my clothes." Han Qian looked at the cigarettes that were thrown to the ground. "Where are these $5 apiece? Just throw them away like this? I feel bad." Han Qian knelt down to pick up the cigarette on the ground and whispered, "If you don't smoke, don't smoke. Why did you throw it away? Don't be in a hurry to buy clothes. After you go back, you and my mother can go shopping in the county town." "Han Qian, are you sick again? Didn't I buy a box of them? They're all dirty." "You bought it for the old man, not for me, Xianyuan. Why don't you buy me a pack of cigarettes? Don't even think about it in this life." When Han Qian put the cigarettes into the cigarette case one by one, the elevator had already reached the first floor. As soon as he raised his head, he saw several people outside the elevator. They were blonde and blue-eyed, 2 men and 2 women. Yu Shisai was among them, chatting with them. The handsome blonde man was talking in a foreign language. Yu Shisai was a little surprised to see Han Qian. Han Qian nodded to Yu Shisai, strode out of the elevator, and passed by him. As soon as I passed Yu Shisai, I heard her voice. "This is the vice president of Changxiang Group, Ms. Wen, Vice President Wen, and this is Pierce, the double majoring medical graduate student introduced by King Hu." Han Qian stopped. He knew when Nuan might be busy and had to wait for a while. He habitually took out some and put it in his mouth to light it. At this time, he heard three foreigners speaking politely in broken Chinese. Han Qian listened. Then he sneered. "This is the girl I like, my goddess, can I be your knight, I will protect you." English was Han Qian's weakness. He couldn't understand it at all, and then he heard a warm voice. "Thank you. I'm married." He didn't understand again. Han Qian laughed to himself. He was very envious of Nuan's fluent English. He turned around and wanted to tell Nuan that he could eat later. The moment he turned around, Han Qian's face darkened. The handsome blonde guy named Pierce took advantage of the opportunity to shake hands with Wen Nuan and bent down to kiss the back of Wen Nuan's hand. Han Qian could see the resistance on Wen's face and the struggle of her arms, but it was not too obvious and her eyes were anxious. Looked at Han Qian. Just when Pierce's lips were about to touch the warm and white back of his hand, his head couldn't move downward, and instead moved further and further away from the back of his hand. The long blonde hair was grabbed by a man and forcibly lifted up. Wen Nuan and Yu Shisai were stunned. Han Qian was behind Pierce and grabbed the long blonde hair and said angrily in a deep voice. "Let go of your paws. You die, fucking." Pierce stood up straight and roared. At this moment, Han Qian realized that the blonde man was slightly over 1.9 meters tall. Yu's poems were so popular in English that he probably meant that Han Qian was the husband of Vice President Wen, and he didn't know much about foreign etiquette. Then he looked at Han Qian and said anxiously. "Han Qian, please let go. It's just etiquette to carry it by hand in a foreign country to show respect." Han Qian let go of his hand, pointed at Pierce and said angrily. "I don't care which country you are from, as long as you abide by Chinese rules in China. Tell Yu Shisai that he is called a hooligan in China." Yu Shisai reluctantly explained that the other two guys seemed to be watching the fun and had no intention of helping or persuading. Han Qian walked towards Wen Nuan and frowned. "Cai King Hu introduced this thing? What do you want to eat? I'll buy you lunch." Han. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a shout from behind. The moment Han Qian turned around, fists as big as sandbags were already attacking his face. Han Qian leaned back and looked at the man standing in front of him, waving his fists eagerly. "Pierce," Han Qian smiled. "There is an old saying in China that it is disrespectful to come and not go." After saying this, Han Qian unbuttoned his suit. Yu Shisai and Wen Nuan were both panicked when they saw this. Is Han Qian obviously going to take action? But before the two of them could step forward, Han Qian's gaze had already been cast over. Meeting Han Qian's gaze, Yu Shisai stood motionless for an instant, and Nuan lowered his raised hand. What Yu Shisai was afraid of was the gaze, and what Wen Nuan was afraid of was based on her understanding of Han Qian. The other two international friends were a little curious after seeing Yu Shisai and Wen Nuan's reactions, but they still did not persuade their friends. Han Qian took off his suit. Pierce hooked his hand, and Pierce raised his leg and kicked Han Qian in the face. Han Qian did not retreat but moved forward, tilted his head to snatch the kick, grabbed his ankle with both hands and held it against his shoulder, and raised it. He put his leg on Pierce's stomach. Without giving this guy a chance to react, Han Qian threw his legs off his shoulders, rushed forward and punched him in the stomach. The moment Pierce bent over, Han Qian's knees had already been raised. Instant kill. Han Qian bent down to pick up the clothes on the ground, patted the dust on them, and said softly. "I'm going to buy lunch for Nuan. Do you want to eat, Yu Shisai?" Yu Shisai's eyes flashed and she shouted. "Eat." After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 394. Bibimbap. When Nuan likes to eat meat, Yu Shisai should, she shouldn't need to lose weight. While Han Qian was waiting for lunch, Cai King Hu called, and after the call was answered, A roar came from the other side. You sent Pierce to the hospital? Han Qian. Are you prone to violence? Feeling sorry for him? Then sue me. After saying that, Han Qian hung up the phone directly. Han Qian is a reasonable person, but there is a premise. The premise is that he suffers. If there is a fight, he does not need anyone else to help, but you don't come over to fight with me. Tell the truth about who is right and who is wrong. To put it bluntly, it is unreasonable. I help relatives but not families. If you feel that I am wrong, then don't contact me. This is the reason why when Nuan didn't stop Han Qian. She was really scared. Han Qian didn't get angry easily. Once he got angry, it was no small matter. While driving, Cai Qinghu was so angry that she smashed the steering wheel. Then she picked up her cell phone and called her best friend. After getting through, she said angrily, "You don't know Han Qian's temper? He dared to shoot Feng Lun with a gun. Don't you know the character of your cousin Pierce? Now he is sent to the hospital. Am I a nanny? Am I a nanny? Is it a nanny?" Wu Qingxi covered her head and said helplessly, "Hey, I already know. Did Han Qian kill him instantly? The nasal cartilage is misplaced. Why is Han Qian so conservative? He can't even kiss the back of his hand. If he wasn't conservative, why would he still be a virgin? There are 5 or 6 girls around him who are barely clean and lying on his bed. Nuan has been sleeping with her in the same bed for 3 months and is still a virgin. What do you think? He is so traditional. The man at his core, who just called me and told me to sue him, is so annoyed. Ask Pierce how much it will cost to solve the problem. He didn't want money. He asked Han Qian to go over and apologize to him. Then let him lie down in the hospital. When Cai Qinghu found Han Qian, he found that this guy was sitting on the steps outside the main entrance of Changxiang, holding a bowl of rice and gobbling it down. Cai Qinghu stepped forward and took the bowl from Han Qian's hand, and used the spoon that Han Qian had used to eat it. He put rice in his mouth, puffed his mouth and looked at Han Qian angrily, saying vaguely, "You're so hot, oh 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 Han Qian opened another copy, raised his head and mumbled, "You're talking after you swallow it?" I said, "Why did you hit him? You sent him to the hospital, what should you do?" I asked for this Pierce. I heard that Nuan was going to be a hospital and needed a front man. She was a little anxious, so she asked Xiaoluo she invited her cousin Pierce over. "Now it's better, can you die if you kiss the back of your hand? Is it made of gold?" Han Qian looked at Cai Qinghu and frowned. "He also kissed the back of your hand." "We kissed, how? I'm going to beat him up." Cai Qinghu held the bowl with one hand and pressed Han Qian's head with the other hand and begged, "My ancestor, please calm down for a while. I have never seen this Pierce kiss the back of his hand." "Huh? Why are you sitting here now? Kicked out by warmth. Drop you out? Where's your temper towards me?" "I lost my temper. Tell me. What should I do? Do you want money?" Looking at this irritating thing, Cai Qinghu really wanted to put a bowl of rice on his head. If this could be solved with money, why would he come to him? 3 to 5 million counts as money or 3 to 5 million as money. Cai Qinghu didn't even know how much money she had, so she remembered her grandfather's last words of love before he died. "My dear, if you like a car, buy it. You can change it to another one every month. Grandpa can't be with you anymore, so don't tire yourself." Cai King Hu closed his eyes and sighed. They don't want money, so they ask you to go over and apologize. After saying this, Han Qian stood up and left. Cai King Hu held the bowl and ran after Han Qian, saying anxiously, "Why are you going? Isn't it just a fruit basket? This apology is really justified. It's not that Han Qian is afraid of pears, nor is he afraid of Wu Qingxi. What he is afraid of is warmth. When he went to deliver food just now, he saw this girl sitting in the office crying. Urgent. The person introduced by Cai King Hu was beaten by Han Qian. She didn't dare to say anything to Han Qian, and she felt sorry for Cai King Hu. The most important thing was that her hospital needed such talents to build a reputation. What should she do now? Nuan said something to Han Qian. Why are you beating him? How can I explain to King Hu? I was so anxious that I couldn't help Han Qian, so why didn't he just buy a fruit basket? What's the big deal? What a big deal. Why are you crying? Cai King Hu ate with a bowl and threw the car keys to Han Qian. Han Qian looked at Cai King Hu and frowned. Are you hungry? I get hungry when I'm angry. I drive by myself. I'm not the driver. Before walking far, Nuan called and asked where Han Qian had gone. If nothing happened, he should go home first. She would deal with this matter. Han Qian weakly said to buy a fruit basket to apologize, and King Hu would accompany him. Went together, and then when Nuan told Han Qian to give Cai King Hu his cell phone, the two of them said. Cai King Hu held a bowl in one hand and a phone in the other. Yeah, Nuan, I know. I went with him just because I was worried that he would do something. Oh, there's nothing to be embarrassed about. This Pierce has a bad nature and deserves to be beaten. It's okay. I told little Labo Sier that he also said that he should be beaten. I know, just don't worry, the worst thing is that we don't need him anymore. I heard Han Qian said that you are crying. Why are you crying? Later, Han Qian felt that something was wrong with the conversation between the two people, as if they were scolding him together. Too lazy to argue with you little girls, I bought a fruit basket and went to the hospital. Now Han Qian is considered an acquaintance of this hospital. He comes here every 2 days, but this time it is not that he has a problem, but someone else is brought in. Han Qian opens the door of the ward, regardless of who is in the ward. He shouted while bending down with a fruit basket in both hands. Sorry. Very sincere, he also knows these words. The blonde woman who was walking with Pierce in the ward was amused by Han Qian's appearance. Han Qian stood up and turned to look at Cai King Hu and whispered. Can you translate? Cai King Hu nodded. Han Qian stepped forward and put down the fruit basket. Pierce immediately made a defensive posture. Han Qian curled his lips and said softly. There are no hand-to-hand gifts in China. You are acting like a hooligan, and beating you will be in vain. If you are not convinced, we will practice after you are discharged from the hospital. While talking, Han Qian took out an apple from the fruit basket. Pierce thought it was for him. As soon as he stretched out his hand, Han Qian opened his mouth and took a bite. He turned to look at Cai King Hu and waited for her to translate. Cai Qian gritted his teeth and glared at Han Qian, whispering. Road. Have you ever apologized like this? Then he turned his head and said a lot to Pierce. Looking at Pierce's expression, Han Qian knew that Cai King Hu did not translate according to his words. When Pierce stretched out his hand to shake Cai King Hu's hand, Han Qian immediately stretched out his hand and pulled Cai King Hu down. Behind him, he frowned and looked at Pierce, wondering. Have you been beaten enough? At this time, the blonde woman said a lot to Pierce Gilawara, and also said a lot very quickly, seeming to be very angry. The blonde woman sighed helplessly, looked at Han Qian and whispered softly. He said kissing your wife's hand was an accident, and he didn't know you were Vice President Wen's husband. He didn't care about it, but why did you still protect Cai King Hu? Han Qian curled his lips and said. Tell him that he will be taken in for a while, and that we Chinese girls can protect and love him by ourselves. Let him cool off wherever he can. If he wants to return to China, I will buy him a plane ticket. If he wants to fight, I can accompany him at any time. After saying this, Han Qian took a bite of the apple and continued. Wu Qingxi's cousin, right? It just so happens that your cousin and I don't get along very well. Don't take your double degree too seriously. There are countless capable people and strangers. We can enjoy it without missing one of you. You two also listen. China is no longer what it used to be, and you foreigners have no advantage here. The blonde woman did not translate for Pierce, but looked at Han Qian and smiled with narrowed eyes. Mr. Han, don't you think your remarks have damaged international friendship? Han Qian curled his lips and said. I'm a farmer in the countryside, and now I'm a white-collar worker. International friendship is too far away for me, and I don't deserve to know friends abroad. So the international friendship you mentioned has nothing to do with me. I am the lowest qualified person in the country. I'm still an angry young man, so if you say something wrong, don't be the same as me. I won't bother to take it to heart if you care about it. The blonde woman sneered after hearing this. What if we don't accept your apology? Han Qian stood up and stretched. At this moment, the wound on his shoulder could no longer be stretched. Blood seeped into his shirt, but Han Qian didn't seem to notice. He looked at the blonde woman and smiled lightly. Then don't think you can leave the city. I apologize sincerely. I bought the fruit basket and Sayori said so. Of course you don't have to accept it. The blonde woman and Pierce were both looking at Han Qian's bleeding shoulder. They found that the man seemed unconscious. Han Qian followed their gazes and glanced at his shoulder, and then sneered. I made you laugh. The injury has not healed yet. If you feel that I am not sincere enough, you can ask Pierce to dislocate my nasal cartilage. Let's consider this matter over and continue to discuss cooperation. After saying this, Han Qian bent down and pointed to his nose. Pierce glanced at Han Qian with doubtful eyes, then looked at the blonde woman and asked. The blonde woman shook her head at Pierce, looked at Han Qian and frowned again. Road. Mr. Han, we can treat this matter as a misunderstanding. Pierce didn't abide by your rules and you hit him. I also think you came here to apologize. I hope Mr. Han will not mix personal grudges with future cooperation. This matter I will ask Pierce to give Vice President Wen an apology. Han Qian straightened up and grinned. This is the best, let me tell you, Western education can still educate a few sensible people. Mr. Han, I have studied in China for 8 years. Then pretend that I didn't say what you said just now. In this case, goodbye. Are you willing to submit? These may be the two most important words in Han Qian's loose English. Han Qian bent to Pierce again and said seriously. Sorry. I used 3 words in English, and there was one hello that I didn't have a chance to use. I winked at Cai King Hu and signaled that I could go. When Han Qian and Cai King Hu walked to the door, the blonde woman spoke. Mr. Han, please stay. What is the injury on your shoulder? Please forgive me for being reckless. This is an occupational disease. Han Qian raised his injured arm and waved to several people. Police rifle type 64. The blonde woman exclaimed. A gunshot wound. Cai King Hu turned around and nodded lightly. Yes, it was a gunshot wound. You were right not to pursue the matter. If I knew that his wound was torn because of Pierce, none of you would be able to leave. Okay King Hu, why are you scaring them? Okay, sir. Pierce and the blonde woman looked at the two people leaving with stunned eyes. Do it with a gunshot wound? This is not their country. Guns are everywhere. No one who can be injured by a gun here is a simple person or a small character. The blonde woman crossed her arms and looked at Pierce, pouting. Did you kick the iron plate? You know it hurts. Pierce retorted unconvinced. Chinese Kung Fu. Chinese Kung Fu. It seems that it's not far away from Han Qian's farewell to his virginity. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 395. You just went over and apologized. Then the matter was resolved. Nuan held the bowl and watched Han Qian perform the apology scene during the day in the living room. Han Qian, who said it in detail, returned to the dining table and nodded vigorously. Yes, this golden retriever is also very reasonable. Besides, I understand your ex-husband's feelings and reason with you, so the matter is over. Let's eat and eat. In Han Qian's description, Pierce is a magnanimous person, and Han Qian is a good boy who corrects his mistakes when he knows they are wrong. He almost calls them brothers. When Nuan looked at Han Qian suspiciously while holding the bowl, she always felt that the matter was not that simple, but after it was solved, she didn't bother to ask any more. Putting a piece of meat in Han Qian's bowl, Han Qian put a piece of rape leaf for Wen Nuan with his backhand. Wen immediately got angry and glared at Han Qian fiercely. He took the rape in his mouth and bit it in small mouths, as if he was angry. Rabbit. Seeing that Han Qian didn't respond, Nuan put down the bowl, took a deep breath, and whispered. I won't argue with you. Ha. Han Qian was amused, raised his head and looked at Wen Nuan and smiled. It's just some rapeseed. Why does it feel like you're taking poison? The nutrition must be balanced. Come on, eat some more cauliflower. Wen didn't refuse cauliflower, she just didn't like eating green vegetables. Wen ate with big mouthfuls, and there was nothing ladylike about it. After finishing the bowl of rice, she handed the rice bowl to Han Qian. Here's a bowl. Because of you, Shisai and I didn't eat at noon. By the way, there's something I want to tell you, because I have to leave the company early to go to my mother-in-law's house to celebrate the new year. Do you know this? Han Qian filled half a bowl of rice and placed it in front of Nuan, and said solemnly with a dark face. Your mother-in-law is my mother, how could I not know this? When Nuan, who didn't think his words were wrong, picked up the meat in the dish and said while eating. Then what Lao Wen means is to get together with his relatives at home in 2 days. They are Lao Wen's relatives. You. Not going. Han Qian's answer was very straightforward and was as expected by Wen Nuan. Lao Wen's relatives were not very impressive. Most of them relied on Lao Wen's business to survive, which was far behind their mother-in-law's side. Before the divorce, Han Qian would go to this family gathering every year before and after the Chinese New Year. He also became the protagonist of the gathering. Ridicule and sarcasm were unavoidable, especially those of the same generation, who all flattered Wen Nuan and would say the next sentence. In one sentence, Han Qian, the brother-in-law or brother-in-law, is not worthy of warmth. He even introduced his boyfriend to Nuan in front of Han Qian. Han Qian looked down on these people and hated them in his heart. If they were not Wen Nuan's relatives, he would have wanted to catch them and beat them up. Wen ate all the meat in the vegetables and started to face the fish on the table. Take action. This fish was prepared by the landlady in the evening and delivered to her. Wen Nuan was not interested in other people's dishes. The main reason was that there was no meat. He put a piece of fish in Han Qian's bowl. Han Qian didn't even think about picking it up and sending it to him. After putting it in his mouth, he saw Wen Nuan glaring at him angrily. Han Qian closed his mouth and sighed helplessly, picked up a piece of fish, picked out the thorns and put it in the warm bowl. The girl smiled. There is no future at all. Brother Qian, go ahead and slap them in the face. You are a big shot now. I won't go. If it's my relatives from my mother's side, I don't mind coming, but forget it from my father's side. I don't plan to go out with them in the future. I feel like it's a waste of time to see them. Just go and tell Dad I'm relatively busy. What are you busy with? Lu Guangming is waiting to sign the second phase contract with me. Didn't this guy fund supplies for sanitation workers? The response has been good. I'm thinking of making an investment so that I can have peace of mind about the land for the second phase project. Luo Shanda has also made an appointment with me recently. I don't know what's going on. I'll go home in less than a week. I'll finish my work early and feel at ease. Hey, get busy, it's going to rain, and Mom is getting married. When you grow up, my sister won't care about you anymore. Get lost. After the meal, Wen took the initiative to ask Yang to wash the dishes. Han Qian didn't stop him. He sat on the sofa and cut his fingernails. His nails were not left at all, they were all cut bald. This habit was developed by Wen after he got married. He used Wen to, in other words, it is okay for boys to have long nails, but if the nails are not clean, they will lose marks. Just when he put down his nail clippers to go see Nuan, Wu Qingxi called. Han Qian answered the phone and said in a high voice. Hello, Mr. Han is busy and can't answer the phone. I'll hang up now. If you dare to hang up, I will tell Pierce to stop cooperating with Chang Xiang. You try. Wu Qingxi, try it. You have signed a contract with Glory. If you dare to let Pierce run away, I will beat you. Hey, let's not talk about whether you can beat me. It's clearly written in the contract. As long as you, Han Qian, use force on me, our contract will be deemed to have been broken by you. Oops. My great savior, this is not asking you for anything. Don't you want a New Year's gift? Why are you so angry? Wu Qingxi's voice is very nice, soft, and waxy, and she sounds like she is coquettish when she talks normally. It's a pity that this is of little use to Han Qian. Han Qian, half lying on the sofa, pouted. Don't you have to come here in mid-January? By that time, my brother is no longer in the city, so I won't need this New Year's gift. You should work hard to make up for the money you lost in Qinghu. Are you the one who deceives your best friend like you? While we were chatting, Wen Nuan came to the living room. He squatted by the sofa and put his ear to the phone to listen. Han Qian pushed Wen's head, and Wen immediately picked up the nail clippers and pointed them at Han Qian. Full of threats, Wu Qingxi spoke softly and waxily. I'm just thinking about discussing this money-making matter with Han Daxian. My studio is planning to make a movie based on the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala. Han Qian replied without thinking. I can't act. I might need to learn this. Then a faint voice came from the phone. You misunderstood. I just want to ask you about the specific things that happened at the party. Maybe Feng Lun doesn't know as much as you do. You mean, I want to tell you the details of the matter, and then you are looking for a screenwriter to adapt it, right? Yeah. Bye, I'm not interested. Han Qian was not uninterested, but was so annoyed by Wen Nuan. The girl was lying on the imperial concubine's couch, swaying her little feet and laughing so hard that she couldn't get up. When Han Qian hung up the phone, Wen Nuan looked at Han Qian and said seriously. I can learn, you misunderstood, ha 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 ha, you also have a hot love but a cold butt, brother Qian, would you like my sister to sign you up for a class, ha ha ha. Han Qian sat cross-legged on the sofa, waiting for warmth, and replied angrily. Why are you laughing? Don't laugh. Xiao Nuan, tell me, if Wu Qingxi is good at seizing the opportunity, there will definitely be many people curious about the details and inside story of this matter. She is so popular, can I take advantage of it to make money? One stroke. Wen Nuan smiled and nodded. You can think about it yourself, I'll take a shower. At night, Han Qian was lying on the bed thinking about whether to agree to Wu Qingxi. When he was struggling, a burst of milk fragrance came into his nose, and Nuan lay beside Han Qian. He looked at Han Qian with a pair of big eyes and whispered. Han Qian. Han Qian frowned and replied seriously. What's wrong? Is something wrong? When Nuan nodded vigorously, Han Qian sat up and spoke in a low voice. What's wrong? I want to eat popsicles. Han Qian tilted his head and looked at Wen Nuan, then slapped Wen on his buttocks and said angrily. Is this serious business? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 396. 2 more days passed, and the day to go home was getting closer and closer, and things to be dealt with also came to the door. Wen Nuan and Han Qian went out together early in the morning. Han Qian walked towards Paramela, and Wen Nuan walked towards Xiaohong. After getting in the car, Alpha crossed the front of Paramela. Wen Nuan rolled down the window and shouted to Han Qian. I'm going to a family gathering tonight. Are you really not going? Han Qian curled his lips and replied. Not going. I'll stay at my mother's house for 2 days. You can pick me up on the 31st. Good. The Alpha drove away with a blast of the accelerator, and the Panamera drove out of the garage like a snail. The first stop is the finance department of Honor Group. Get paid. When Suliang said that wages would be paid today, Han Qian almost shed tears of excitement. Heaven, earth. 4 months. Finally getting his first salary in his life, Han Qian didn't know how his 3rd month's salary was deducted, let alone that Yan Qingqing had already deducted his 4th month's salary. When Han Qian got the news in the finance department, he felt bad. The ladies in the finance department were so frightened by Han Qian's eyes that they cowered in the corner. Jealous. His eyes were redder than when he stabbed Feng Lun with a screwdriver. Han Qian angrily headed to the 14th floor. No one dared to stop him wherever he went. Just like that, Han Qian went to the general manager's office with the momentum of fighting Yan Qingqing until dawn. Regardless of Xiao Yangjia's obstruction, Han Qian opened the door. Entering, he said angrily. Yan Qingqing, come out here. At the door of the general manager's lounge, Yan Qingqing showed a pretty face and found that Han Qian was the only one. She breathed a sigh of relief, strode out of the locker room with a sweater in her hand, and said calmly. You're looking for me. I'm looking for you after you finish getting dressed. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Say goodbye. Who would have thought that this girl came out wearing a bra, and her breasts were still so plump? Han Qian turned around and left. When he went out, he glanced around and closed the office door, and then squatted weakly at the door. Waste. Can't you deal with just such a girl? That's not the case. It's not that Yan Qingqing and Han Qian can't deal with him, but that he can't deal with any of the girls around him. Little Yang Jia squatted next to Han Qian with a bag of yogurt in her mouth, stretched out her hand to touch Han Qian's head, and comforted him softly. I told you not to let you in, but you insist on going in. You must be aroused now. Han Qian, if you are sick, we will treat it. I will copy a small advertisement for you later. Han Qian slowly raised his head, glared at little Yang Jia, and then suddenly reached out to squeeze the yogurt bag. The next second, Han Qian's face was covered with yogurt. Little Yang Jia threw his head back and laughed, got up and ran away. Got fooled. There was no opening in the girl's mouth, and the opening of the yogurt was facing him, and she was pinched like this. Han Qian was unhappy, very unhappy. He stood up and mustered up the courage to open Yan Qingqing's office door. As soon as he took a step inside, Yan Qingqing frowned. Did you fall into the milk vat? Han Qian didn't say a word, and walked towards Yan Qingqing angrily. When he reached the desk and was about to speak, a piece of paper was handed over. Han Qian took it curiously, took a look, put down the paper and took a deep breath. Ching Ching narrowed her eyes and smiled. Is there anything else? Mr. Han is late for 28 days a month and not stuck for 27 days. Han Qian took a deep breath again and said seriously. I think I should be able to get a salary of 100 yuan, which can heal the scars in my heart. Snapped. The bright red banknotes were slapped on the table. Yan Qingqing said again. Is there anything else? Han Qian didn't know what to say at this time. When he stretched out his hand to get the money, he found that Yan Qingqing was pressing it tightly. Han Qian gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice. I think I still have a bonus. Yan Qingqing let go of her hand, and Han Qian successfully took away 100 yuan. He raised his hand and flicked the money. Hearing the crisp sound, Han Qian smiled heartlessly. Hey, Mr. Yan, you're busy, I'm going to do my work. After saying that, he left. When he walked to the door, there was a bang sound behind him. Han Qian was shocked. He knew that there were several baseball bats hidden in Yan Qingqing's desk cabinet, so he did not dare to turn his head and reach out. Grasping the door handle, Yan Qingqing spoke. Don't want the bonus. Han Qian turned around and rushed in front of Yan Qingqing. Looking at the 20 wads of cash lying neatly on the table, Han Qian's eyes turned red again, and his saliva dropped to the ground inadvertently. He raised his head and looked at Yan Qingqing with red eyes. Qingqing laughed naively. Mr. Yan, hey, gave it to me. Bonus. Is this 200,000? Yan Qingqing stood up, took a tissue and wiped the yogurt off Han Qian's face and collar, and said softly. Xiao Yangjia was looking for someone to do experiments with yogurt in his mouth early in the morning. In the end, you were the only one who was fooled. Do you think you are a fool? This 200,000 yuan is a bonus given to you by the company and me personally. The money you keep in my hands, you have spent almost all of it. Save the money to be your wife and marry me. Han Qian drooled when he looked at the money on the table. Yan Qingqing looked at Han Qian angrily and said angrily. You're so dirty. Look at you, you look so worthless, you don't take so many shares seriously, how come these 200,000 have made you stupid? You are about to go back to your hometown to visit my future parents-in-law. You can't just spend $1 to find Xiao Nuanuan, right? Future parents-in-law. Han Qian didn't dare to answer this, and Yan Qingqing didn't expect Han Qian to answer. She threw away the tissue in her hand, turned and walked to the lounge. Not long after, she came out with a suitcase. Yan Qingqing struggled to lift the suitcase. Desk, opened the box and said softly. Here are cigarettes and wine bought for Dad. I went to see your little brother named Kexin. He said that your dad only smoked leaves, so he bought 2 kilograms of it through some connections. These 2 bottles of wine are also for Dad. No, I bought too much because I didn't want him to drink too much. These 2 boxes of cosmetics are from the same brand as mine, and I feel pretty good about it. This box contains ginseng. Remember to leave the silk thread binding the ginseng, it's pure gold. After saying this, Yan Qingqing raised her head, staring at Han Qian with tender eyes, and said softly. I also want to visit my future parents-in-law, but there are many reasons why I may not be able to go. You take these things first, and you must tell me when they come to the city after the Chinese New Year. I will entertain them, Han Qian, don't refuse me. You gave me such a big gift and I didn't refuse it. I accepted it happily. I don't want these small gifts of mine to be rejected by you either. After saying this, Yan Qingqing put the cash into the box. When she raised her head again, she wiped the tears from her eyes and whispered. I will miss you if we are separated for 2 months. How about you come to my house to celebrate the New Year? Yan Qingqing was stunned for a moment, then shook her head with a wry smile and sighed softly. Aren't you worried about me quarreling with Wen Nuan? How can you explain your relationship with me? Forget it, I won't embarrass you. Han Qian breathed a sigh of relief and said softly. Okay then, I'll send you a video during the Chinese New Year. Han Qian pulled his suitcase and turned to leave the office. When closing the door, he heard Yan Qingqing talking to herself. There shouldn't be any quarrel. When the time comes, I will say that Han Qian has done me a big favor. I must come over to thank my parents for having such an outstanding son and allowing me to meet such an outstanding man. I want to lady, you can't curse, damn, where is my phone? After closing the door, Han Qian raised his hand and slapped himself in the face. Are you mean-mouthed? After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 397. Returning to the general department, he saw little Yang Jia sitting in his seat telling everyone about her tricks vividly. Han Qian put down the suitcase in his hand and rushed towards little Yang Jia, roaring angrily. Little girl Pianzi, don't run away. Ah! Little Yang Jia screamed and ran away. In the blink of an eye of Han Qian, the little girl disappeared. The hands on Han Qian's back were trembling, and the next second he went directly to Yang Lan to cry. Sister Yang, little Yang Jia sprayed me with yogurt this morning and it was all over my face. Please make the decision for me. Yang Lan opened the door and looked down at Han Qian squatting on the ground, frowning. Is a big man crying when he is bullied by a little girl? I don't care if you two are fighting, I will catch her and beat her hard. After receiving this order, he stood up and saluted Yang Lan. The mission was successfully completed. Hurry up and deal with the work in your hand. Aren't you going back to your hometown soon? Ask your uncle and aunt for me. I will visit them when I have time. Okay, Sister Yang. Han Qian waved to the members of the general department. At this time, Daqian stood up and threw something to Han Qian. After taking it, he found that it was Gao Xingqing's lighter. Han Qian smiled, pulled his suitcase and left the general department. This may be the last time I come to the company before this year. During the vice president's office meeting, Gao Jishi stood up and hugged Han Qian actively, patted Han Qian on the back and said with a smile. My young master Han, I have finally come to you, the one who longed for the stars and the moon. Take a seat. Han Qian sat down with a smile, and Gao Wuxing waved to Sun Yat. Not long after, Sun Yat prepared a pile of cash and put it on the coffee table. Gao Wishong suddenly frowned, stood up, pointed at Sun Yat, and cursed himself, very unpleasant to hear. You scolded by, is there something wrong with your brain? Are you using this little money to send a beggar to you? Sun Yat, let me tell you, if you want to die, don't drag me with you. Sun Yat was scolded and cried instantly. Han Qian quickly stood up and held down Gao Xing's arm, smiling bitterly. What are you doing, what are you doing? The New Year's money that Sister Yaya prepared for me during the New Year is more or less unimportant. If Sister Yaya has this intention, I will be satisfied. This is the first time I have received lucky money in my life, so I said Sister Yaya is the best to me. Gao Xingcheng glared at Sun Yat and said angrily. Go away, are you still standing here and being an eyesore? Sun Yat lowered her head and turned around to leave. Gao Xingcheng spoke again. Don't you know how to say hello to Mr. Han? Okay. Vice President Gao, what are you doing? I won't come over next time if you act like this. Sister Yaya, please stay. This thing has been in my hands for a long time. It's already dirty. Please take it and clean it. Bar. Sun Yat took the lighter from Han Qian's hand and raised her head to look at Gao Xinggao, who snorted and said nothing. Han Qian and Gao Jishi were the only ones left in the office, and the latter sighed helplessly. She has been with me for so many years and she doesn't have any brains. If Han Xiaomo wants to get to know her, this 100,000 will be regarded as the New Year's money she gave you. I will make up for it after you celebrate the New Year. To be honest, before I met you, I never thought I would be here today. Han Qian was not polite, put away the 100,000 yuan on the table, put it in his suitcase, and said with a smile. Everything depends on human effort. How can there be so many impossibilities? A person will spend 30 years in Hedong and 30 years in Hexi. As long as he does not give up, nothing is impossible. I will keep the money and come over to give you the lighter. Let me talk first. Okay, I haven't used it once, I keep it at home. Gao Fuxing curled his lips. Pretentious. Han Qian shrugged, stood up and smiled. I have to go to the Yamen gate. Do you have time in the evening? I asked you all to go out for dinner. I will go back to my hometown in a few days. I haven't thanked you all for your help this time. I want to celebrate the success of the plan and also celebrate Vice President Gao. Rongsheng Gao Dong, I will be the host and you will decide the place. Good. This 100,000 will be squandered. Not good money. Han Qian always felt that his departure was like saying goodbye to everyone forever. When he got in the car, he looked at the 4 characters glory group and grinned. Very silly, very silly. He also didn't expect that he, a small white-collar worker, could shake up the entire honor group and lead to changes in the board of directors. He took a deep breath and drove away. Listening to the music in the car, Han Qian asked himself with a grin. This year is about to come to an end. I am glad to be alive, whether I am glad or not. No one heard the sentence of lucky or not, and Han Qian didn't finish his sentence. Maybe only he himself understood the meaning of the sentence, maybe he couldn't explain it clearly. When he arrived at the Yamen gate, Han Qian found that Cheng Jin was not there. Hearing that he had gone to the city bureau, Han Qian called Cai King Hu. The girl was still sleeping soundly, so she said see you at the city bureau and hung up the phone. The two of them arrived at the city bureau at the same time. Cai King Hu jumped to Han Qian's side and seemed to be in a good mood. He put his arms around Han Qian's neck and asked softly. Why don't you agree to what little La Bossi proposes? You can also take the opportunity to blackmail her. The little rich woman is very rich. Worried that the eldest sister would fall, Han Qian put his arm around her waist and asked softly. Didn't you say that she still owes you money? We don't have any debt, and I'm not in a hurry to ask for it. I don't owe anything, huh? Why did you suddenly come to the city bureau? Look for Cheng Jin. The two walked into the city bureau very ambiguously. As soon as they entered the door, they saw Cheng Jin frowning and discussing something with Li Jinhai downstairs. Han Qian and Cai King Hu were very curious and stepped forward to eavesdrop. Listen to this. The two of them were no longer calm. Some of the gangsters at the Mid-Autumn Festival Gala have been arrested. This guy has never left the city. He was caught this morning. He is being interrogated inside. Listening to the conversation between Li Jinhai and Cheng Jin, this guy seems not to admit that he has committed a crime. He needs someone to come. Identify. But none of the witnesses they were looking for were willing to come. There were always excuses. Everyone at the Mid-Autumn Festival party was not short of money. Now that only one gangster has been arrested, they are worried that someone will retaliate. Cheng Jin raised his head and glanced at Han Qian, then looked at Li Jinhai and said again. What should we do now? The surveillance that night was destroyed and no one was identified. We also relied on Toad's description to arrest people. When Toad received the news, he broke his own arm. This was obviously unwilling to identify, and the gangsters also had most of them were not caught, and he was also worried about being retaliated against. What now, Han Qian? Hey! Han Qian is here. Cheng Jin suddenly turned around and reached out to grab Han Qian's shoulders. The two raised hands were held by Li Jinhai and Cai Qinghu respectively without falling. Cai Qinghu whispered. Mayor Chen, Han Qian's shoulder is injured. Li Jinhai said immediately. Don't go to the hospital for my nephew and son-in-law. Now that Han Qian is here, take him in and take a look. Others don't dare to identify him, but he dares. Han Qian, who already knew the whole story, took a step back and shook his head. I won't go, I'm afraid of trouble. Cheng Jin ignored Han Qian's refusal and spoke directly. Tell me the conditions. Heshun City is signing a land use contract. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 398. Han Qian came to Cheng Jin for this reason. Even if there was no such thing at the moment, Han Qian could still get Cheng Jin to agree. But now he didn't have to waste his words. Han Qian was relieved. Cheng Jin was kicking as he walked. Han Qian's butt, said angrily. Little bastard, you're really blind if you don't want to be a businessman. Are you thinking about how to plot against me all day long? Huh. Han Qian covered his butt and whispered. Accident, accident. Cai Qinghu said angrily to Cheng Jin. Don't kick my husband. The four of them walked into the interrogation room. Han Qian looked at the man with handcuffs and shackles. He was stunned, and the man was also stunned. What does it mean that enemies don't get together, or that this guy slapped Yan Qingqing and was knocked unconscious by Han Qian? Han Qian couldn't help but sneered and cursed. Oh shit. This sentence made Cheng Jin and Li Jinhai put down their ugly expressions. Han Qian knows him. But Han Qian didn't speak. He turned around and looked at Cheng Jin with a sly smile. Lao Cheng, please sign the contract first. After saying this, Li Jinhai put his foot on Han Qian's butt and roared angrily. Can he still run away? Please give me some time, kid. Han Qian rubbed his butt and muttered that it was not his second uncle. Then when he saw Li Jinhai was about to attack again, Han Qian hurriedly avoided it, walked forward and squatted in front of the man, took out a cigarette, lit it and put it in the man's mouth. Sighed. The pain in your forehead doesn't hurt anymore, right? You shouldn't have hit Yan Qingqing in the first place, otherwise nothing would have happened to you. Feng Lun should have given you a lot of money, right? Why didn't you run away? What should I do if it's causing trouble now? The man took a long puff of cigarette, looked at Han Qian with confused eyes, and said doubtfully. What are you talking about? I don't know you. It doesn't matter whether you recognize him or not. I'm quite curious. The last time Feng Lun came back to arrest me, why weren't you there? Facing Han Qian's questions, the man became very calm, smoking a cigarette and smiling at Han Qian. I don't know you, what are you talking about? I don't know Feng Lun either. I've already admitted that I do take drugs. Are you using me as a pretext if you can't catch the criminal? Han Qian sighed after hearing this. Why don't you admit it? We almost had a fight in the van, and you forgot about it? And? Mr. Sir, wait a minute. I have a few questions to ask him. Mayor Chen, Director Li, can you go out first? Leave Han Qian and me here. After I finish asking, you can continue the interrogation, okay? There was a hint of pleading in Cai Qinghu's tone. Cheng Jin looked confused, but did not refuse. Cai Qinghu was indeed qualified to interrogate. Several people left the interrogation room. Han Qian stood up and leaned on the desk. Cai Qinghu picked up the information on the desk and took a look at it. He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and spoke softly. Do you know me? The man raised his head and looked at Cai Qinghu. The next second his eyes showed obscenity and he smiled lewdly. If you were underneath me, maybe I would know you. Before he finished speaking, Han Qian had already stepped forward and grabbed the guy's collar and raised his fist, but today Cai King Hu opened his mouth to stop Han Qian. "Ms. Sir." It was no longer coquettish, but a very serious tone. Han Qian let go of this guy with an ugly expression on his face. Cai King Hu sat on a chair and said softly. "Zhang Song, right." The man laughed sarcastically. "You can also call me Brother Qing, and I will call you husband. Is he your concubine?" At this time, Han Qian's anger was full, but Cai King Hu did not allow him to take action. Facing Zhang Song's provocation and verbal humiliation, Cai King Hu was not angry at all. He raised his head and looked Zhang Song in the eyes and said softly. "You graduated from Tukpan City No. 7 Senior High School in high school, right? What class are you in?" Zhang Song was also a little confused at this time. "Is this news useful?" He curled his lips and replied. "From class 6. Your class teacher's name is Lu Hanjian, and your English teacher's name is Lu Ziyi, right? She is tall, wears glasses, and was in love with the music teacher at the time." Cai King Hu's tone was low and gentle, as if he was reminiscing with an old friend. Zhang Song tilted his head and looked at Cai King Hu. The hand holding the cigarette trembled. The light in his eyes was slowly dissipating. Cai King Hu raised his head and sighed, saying softly. "Do you still remember your monitor's name?" "Cai Cheng." "It's me. Zhang Song, I never thought that after so many years, my old classmate would be here for the first time." Cai King Hu's tears fell. Classmates for 3 years, the friendship of classmates. One became a prosecutor, and the other became a drug addict, and also participated in the tragedy of the Mid-Autumn Festival party. The cigarette in Zhang Song's hand fell to the ground, his eyes became dim, and he choked. He tried his best to lower his head so that his face would not be seen. The choking slowly turned into crying. He never expected that it would be his classmates who were interrogating him at this moment. Recalling what he just said, Zhang Song covered his face with his hands and burst into tears. "No, I'm not Zhang Song, my class teacher is not Lu Hanjian, my class teacher is not Cai King Hu, no, it's nothing. Han Qian, please let someone take me away. I plead guilty. I'm guilty of all crimes admitted, I don't have the shame to hold on for 1 second in front of my squad leader, I beg you, I plead guilty, I plead guilty." Zhang Song covered his face and cried bitterly. He collapsed. When he was caught, he had made all preparations. No matter who identified him or what evidence there was, he would only plead guilty to taking drugs and not to the Mid-Autumn Festival party. But he never expected that the person interrogating him here today would be his high school monitor, the monitor who took the trouble to help him with his homework, the monitor who quarreled with the dean for school uniforms and books because of him, a borrowed student. Cai King Hu's tears couldn't stop falling and he choked. "When you were a freshman in high school, your grades were not good. When you were a sophomore in high school, you were already able to keep up with your classmates. When you were a junior in high school, you were already in the top 20 in the entire year. I remember that your best result was a perfect score in math, the 8th place in the year group, the whole class is celebrating for you, but, why is the meeting of old classmates here? I would rather not be this prosecutor. No. No. It's not me. Monitor, you admit your mistake. It's not me, Han Qian, I beg you, please take me away. I plead guilty. I was the one who slapped Yan Qing. Yes, you smashed my head on the floor tiles. I did get a lot of money, but I took drugs and squandered it. I beg you, don't let me hear any more. I don't have the face to face my classmates. He is my monitor. Han Qian, I beg you. The last straw for Jang Song was just because her squad leader was a prosecutor and he was a criminal. A gangster who dared to kill and rob with a gun for money could not face his classmates. Jang Song covered his face and cried like a child. He kept begging and hitting the horizontal panel in front of the chair. He collapsed. Han Qian waved at the surveillance camera. Within 2 minutes, Cheng Jin and Li Jinhai rushed into the interrogation room. Han Qian supported Cai Qinghu, who was choking and crying, and prepared to leave. When Cai Qinghu was about to go out, Jang Song shouted, "Monitor! I didn't kill anyone. I only took drugs. I didn't do anything bad. When I get out of prison, can I still be your old classmate? Can I go back to see our teacher?" Cai Qinghu was crying and speechless, and nodded vigorously. Her legs became weak, and when she walked out of the interrogation room, Jang Song heard the cry of her squad leader. Han Qian supported Cai Qinghu all the way out of the city bureau and sat in the car. Cai Qinghu grabbed Han Qian's arm and asked why things were like this and why there was such a coincidence. Han Qian smoked without speaking or comforting him. Because this is Cai Qinghu's life lesson, she needs to learn by herself and cross this hurdle. After crying, Cai Qinghu wiped his tears and said with a trembling voice, "I'm going to heal my wounds. I'm going to find Kingxi. My husband, I'll go find you in a few days." Han Qian nodded and did not let Cai Qinghu get out of the car. Instead, he drove her to the airport. Looking at Cai Qinghu's disappearing back, Han Qian lit his cigarette again. Humming life. A bloody experience. But these are the most deceptive tears. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, A Huan. Chapter 399. Things in the city bureau affected Han Qian's mood. Cheng Jin was very happy on the phone. When Cheng Jin laughed out loud, Han Qian spoke. "Mr. Cheng, I'm in a bad mood right now. If you're laughing, I'll break off our relationship with you." Cheng Jin stopped laughing and asked in a low voice. "Because your wife and Jang Song are classmates? I'm very grateful for this, ha ha ha, Han Qian, I can't help it." You." Han Qian hung up the phone directly. Cheng Jin looked at the phone in his hand in shock, slowly turned his head to look at Niu Qiudong, and said doubtfully, "He berated me." Niu Qiudong nodded. "You deserve it." Han Qian is famous for protecting his shortcomings. If Jang Song hadn't explained it, you might not have known about the grievances between Han Qian and Jang Song. The slap Yan Qing received can't be measured with money. Cheng Jin curled his lips and said disdainfully, "A hero is a beauty, and he has a lot of beauty. Stop talking nonsense, let people take shifts during the Chinese New Year, and protect Han Qian and the people around him." Recently, this old boy Tu Xiao seems to be preparing to return to his old career because of the grudge between Han Qian and Go De Peo. Don't let his people get the first priority when the time comes. Well, then let's go to the delicatessen to stew as soon as possible. I know. Han Qian was in a really bad mood. Being disgusted by Cheng Jin, an old and dishonest man, made him feel even worse. He drove aimlessly and took out his cell phone to dial a person who would never take the initiative to go there in his life. The number dialed. This time the other party was smart and didn't let the agent answer the phone. Wu Qingxi was very excited when she answered the phone and said happily, "Have you figured it out?" Han Qian frowned and said solemnly, "I don't have time to argue with you. Qinghu is in a very bad mood. She was crying the whole time when I sent her to the airport. You use her ID card to check what time her ticket is, and then you go to pick her up. I'm worried. Something will happen to her." Wu Qingxi exclaimed and said anxiously, "Did you two quarrel?" Han Qian, you are a scumbag. Qinghu likes you so much, why are you quarreling with her? There was no quarrel. It's too late for me to feel distressed. Something happened and she decided to come to you for comfort. Please take good care of King Hugh. Whether she is willful or mischievous, you can let her go. Don't let her go. I'm so happy, she was happy when I saw her. I agree to all your conditions. Don't tell King Hugh that I said these things to you, let her have fun. These words came from the bottom of his heart. Han Qian couldn't understand Cai King Hugh's mood, but seeing this girl crying so hard that she couldn't breathe, it really hurt her. And there is no one else around Cai King Hugh, only Han Qian and Wu Qingxi. Wu Qingxi whispered while changing her clothes. When are you two going to have a baby? Snapped. Han Qian hung up the phone directly. Afternoon, Nuan called and asked Han Qian sweetly if he had lunch. Han Qian sighed softly and replied softly that he had not eaten. Nuan noticed it when Han Qian said the first word. Is it wrong? I asked cautiously. Did something happen? Han Qian flattened his backrest and told the story about Cai King Hugh and Zhang Song. Nuan had heard it and whispered back. I don't know much about classmate friendship, but I know that if the poem was written by Zhang Song, I wouldn't even have the courage to recognize each other. I would quit my job. This would hurt too much. Can you please be kind to me, Nuan? No, I always feel like you want to steal my man. During the quarrel between Wen Nuan and Yu Shisai, the phone was hung up. Wen Nuan didn't want to disturb Han Qian. She also knew that she was not very good at coaxing people, and nagging would only make Han Qian more and more annoyed. Men are not like women. Women are irritable and like to be coaxed and pampered when they are unhappy. Men just want to lick their wounds quietly and secretly, and don't like to be disturbed, and they don't need to be disturbed. Han Qian always felt that he was sick, serious, and incurable. He doesn't care about physical pain and injuries and can tolerate them, but once something happens around him that affects his mood, he will not be able to recover easily. He will not be able to eat while watching others cook live crabs at a buffet and watch the fish being sold. If the boss kills a fish, he will not be able to laugh for 3 to 5 hours. The body can heal itself, but Han Qian doesn't know how to heal himself from the discomfort in his heart. Han Qian succeeded in blowing up his hair and took out his mobile phone to call everyone. Brother Lu, let's drink tonight. Boss Wei, let's drink tonight. Director Luo, let's drink tonight. Si Guan, let's drink tonight. Boss 2, let's go out drinking tonight. After searching around, he only found a few people, but Han Qian was still in a bad mood. What should he do if he was in a bad mood? Han Qian didn't know that he was driving around the city aimlessly, and the whole afternoon passed by. This was the first time that Han Qian felt that time passed slowly, and it might also be the first time that he was free. The people who called and clamored for him every day stopped looking for him. Even Aunt Ji told Han Qian to be good and play by yourself and don't make trouble. Driving by the Taiwa Hotel, I noticed a very familiar figure at the door of the hotel, wandering around. Han Qian smiled and found his friend. Child monster. Han Qian got out of the car and tiptoed behind Tanjao, stretched out his hand to cover her eyes, and smiled evilly. Guess who I am? Tong Yao's reaction was much calmer than that of Han Qian, but the fact is that Tong Yao was struggling with some things in his mind. He didn't come to his senses for a while. When he came to his senses, he heard Han Qian's voice. He was originally wandering around nervously. The nursery rhyme suddenly stopped being nervous, took a deep breath and said helplessly. You scumbag, are you so boring? It's no fun to be guessed. Han Qian put down his hand, took a step forward, and looked at the nursery rhyme. Although he looked at the Taiwa Hotel with the eyes of the nursery rhyme, Han Qian said doubtfully. What are you doing here? Tong Yao's expression suddenly became nervous, and he lowered his head and whispered. I have a cousin who came here to play. She said she wanted to see the sea in winter, so she transferred money to help me book a hotel, because, because, because of family matters. Now the family members, everyone thinks I'm rich. Oh. Han Qian let out a sigh of realization, and then spoke. Let's stay at Metropark. King Hu's room is free. She went to the capital and won't be back for a short time. No, 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 I've already booked the room. I'm just worried that I won't remember where this is. Why are you strolling around if you don't go to work? Nursery rhyme firmly refused. Han Qian sighed. I'm fine. How is your brother's injury? You still need money. I'm going to get some for you. Nursery rhyme shook her head. That's enough. While he was talking, Gao Qianxing called and told Han Qian that the place had been booked and that he would meet at 6 o'clock in the evening. Han Qian looked at the sun in the sky and said, It's been a long time since I've gone shopping. These clothes smell like yogurt. Well, help me look at the clothes. I'll take you to dinner tonight and buy some things for my brother. I'll be leaving in 2 days. Without any explanation, he pushed the child monster into the car. Han Qian thought that he was very familiar with nursery rhymes, the same kind of relationship as Suliang and Guandegu. Tong Yao sat in the passenger seat and looked out the window and said softly. Things have changed. I may leave before you. Then we need to eat more. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 400. The evening drinking party had no meaning, it was just a celebration of success. Everyone benefits from this plan, but some are more obvious and some are more subtle. On the first floor of the hotel, Han Qian and Wei Tiancheng were the first to arrive at the hotel. They sat opposite each other in the lounge area on the first floor, drinking tea and waiting for others to arrive. Wei Tiancheng was surprised that a girl suddenly changed next to Han Qian. It's not surprising at all, even if I have never seen this girl before. He was very intellectual, very cold, and very rude. His proactive greetings were ignored by this woman, and she never looked at him since she entered the hotel. Wei Tiancheng didn't remember such a thing happening. Wei Tiancheng thought that he was perfect in terms of appearance, accomplishments, and family status. There were too many women taking the initiative to follow him. Even though he knew that nothing would happen with this nursery rhyme girl, he still felt a little uncomfortable. So comfortable. Not long after, Wu Sijuan arrived. The little girl was getting better and better at dressing up. She wore leather pants, boots, and mink skins. She was carrying a luxury bag in her hand. She had the full temperament of a rich young woman. She was dressed dignifiedly and neatly beside her. Yates with short ears and short hair. Wu Sijuan trotted to the tea table, took the teacup from Wei Tiancheng and took a big sip. Wei Tiancheng smiled when he saw this. You just came back from the desert. Miss Wu needs to pay attention to her image. Wu Siquan smiled naively. At this time, Han Qian stood up and looked at Yates, smiling lightly. Have you changed your hairstyle? Let me introduce you. This is Director Wei, the chairman of Huishan Group. This is my friend, Nursery Rhyme. Yates stretched out his hand to Wei Tiancheng and said softly. Hello, Director Wei, my name is Yeji, just call me Zaya. Wei Tiancheng stood up and looked at Han Qian with some confusion, and Han Qian chuckled. I was Lu Shenge's assistant half a month ago, and now I'm good friends with Si Quan. Come on, let's go upstairs and wait for them. Led by Han Qian, several people walked towards the elevator. Wu Siquan, who was walking behind, blinked at Tanjeo. Tanjeo became nervous instantly. Several people walked into the box. Gao Xing'ai and Luo Shanda arrived behind. Luo Shanda saw two strange girls. His eyes were a little straight. Tong Yao, who was not used to such occasions, lowered his head, while Yates looked at Luo Shanda, his aura not diminishing at all. Yates's move surprised Han Qian, and at the same time he sighed in his heart, he was worthy of being able to stay with Li Shengge for more than 1,000 years. Tian's woman, her aura has surpassed that of Wu Sigwan. Luo Shanda looked at the people seated in the room. Han Qian was sitting at the main seat. To his left was a girl who did not look like this person. She was very beautiful. To his right was Wei Tiancheng. Next to Wei Tiancheng was this unknown girl. Young woman. Regarding how to distinguish young women from girls, the most basic thing is to look at the hairstyle, then the eyebrows, and finally the eyes. Young women are much bolder than girls. Gao Jishi was also surprised when he saw Yates and couldn't help but ask. You, Mr. Han, this. Before Han Qian could speak, Yates had already stood up, looked at Gao Xingchen and chuckled softly. Hello, Director Gao, my name is Yates, I am Si Guan's friend, and now I am half assistant to Mr. Han. Oh, shit. These are the 4 big words Gao Jikan felt in his heart. This Yates used to be Lu Shengge's trusted assistant. He would take him with him wherever he went, and he was willing to spend money to train this woman. How could he suddenly become half of Han Qian now? Assistant. How many secrets does Han Qian have? And Han Qian didn't calm down for a moment. When did Yates become his assistant? When Han Qian was confused, Wu Sijuan stood up and teased Luo Shanda jokingly, asking when the old guy would get divorced, and she was still waiting to be the wife of the director. Luo Shanda smiled and teased and said they would see each other in the next life. Yates stood up consciously. Her seat was given to Luo Shanda, and she naturally sat next to Gao Xingchen. While everyone was making harmless jokes, Tong Yao reached out and tugged on Han Qian's clothes and spoke in a low voice. Yates said that your assistant was probably setting off smoke bombs for Gao Xing. I heard Wen Nuan and Ji Jing chatting about the 2 companies. Yates also wanted to take the opportunity to test your background. This is 1, and 2, let the focus shift to you. This woman is protecting herself. She is very smart. Now that Gao Fuling should be thinking about how on earth you made Yates become your assistant. I don't like this guy Gao Fuling. Tang, there is also a person with the same name as him in Chao Dynasty, but he is not very good. Han Qian turned sideways, lowered his head, and whispered. Teacher Tong, I find that your brain is really useful. If my cerebellum is not in a daze, can't my brain be more developed? You know. Shut up. The atmosphere at the dinner table was very lively. Luo Shanda and Wu Sigwan were joking to warm up the atmosphere. No one was left out. Gao Jingxing looked worried, but Yates was lively compared to him. He was talking about business with Gao Jingxing. Things. She really understands. Everyone was in tacit understanding. Mayu asked her why she left Lu Shengge. She wanted to ask, but didn't dare. Han Qian was here. Every time he saw Han Qian, he would give everyone a surprise. This surprise made several people have difficulty breathing. At the beginning, Han Qian was like a rabbit, anyone could handle it. Gradually, he discovered that this guy was like a fox. More like a jackal to be exact. But now, Han Qian is more like a snake, a python with fangs. There is a little phoenix behind the snake, and the proud peacock of glory is also attached to it. They had felt this way about the little golden dragon a few years ago, but as long as it was oppressive and a headache, Han Qian's snake gave them the feeling of danger. No one could be sure whether this guy would open it. Swallow them in big mouthfuls. A plan that everyone was involved in made everyone feel a little cold behind their backs. Han Qian was cruel, his methods were shady, and his luck was extremely good. While everyone was chatting and joking, Han Qian's phone rang, and the people in the box shut up and kept quiet. After dropping the Nokia phone several times, the receiver made a scary sound. Han Qian answered the call, and Cheng Jin the voice came from the other side. Where did you go, little bastard? I'm going out to eat. While talking, the box door was pushed open, and Lu Guangming and Tu Xiao came. Lu Guangming looked at Han Qian answering the phone and consciously did not speak. At this time, Cheng Jin's voice came again. What? You don't want the second phase of the land contract for Lu Guangming? You don't want me to burn it? Han Qian frowned and replied. Are you Joe Poppy? I just did you a big favor this morning, and now you are threatening me with a contract. When will you have time, Mr. Lu? Lu Guangming laughed loudly. Tomorrow morning. I will go to the Yamanmen tomorrow morning. The contract matter is not urgent. At the moment it is an issue of labor protection for sanitation workers. It is getting late now. I went to Shuncheng Love breakfast shop several times in the morning and discovered a problem. Early in the morning when it's dark, many people drive tiredly and can't see the sanitation workers, so I thought about preparing some clothes with reflective stickers to send to the government office. Han Qian nodded, then whispered into the phone. Did you hear that? I'm eating. Don't disturb me. Are you annoying? Okay, you eat. Master Han, please eat slowly and Lao Cheng won't disturb you. It's just your pleasure. Ah. The last sneer made Han Qian feel numb. Cheng Jin was very narrow-minded and would definitely settle the score. Han Qian closed his eyes and sighed. Now that I'm playing, I'm so energetic. He will definitely beat me tomorrow. After hearing this, everyone looked at Han Qian with resentful eyes. Luo Shanda looked at Han Qian and said resentfully. Stop showing off. How many people in the city want to be kicked by Mayor Cheng? Mayor Cheng never calls or meets any entrepreneurs or businessmen in private. Hey. I'm envious. Wei Tiancheng and Gao Xing'ai looked at Han Qian thoughtfully. I almost forgot that there is a big temple behind this python, and the towering tower is already floating above its head. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 401. Wu Si-Quan became the elf at the dinner table. She was the one who enlivened the atmosphere in the entire box. Everyone drank. Wu Si-Quan looked at Luo Shanda with one hand on his chin and narrowed his eyes. Lao Luo, you want a divorce? We can divorce on the same day and we will get married on the same day. Luo Shanda closed his eyes and drank, unmoved. Wei Tiancheng narrowed his eyes and laughed. If Lao Luo marries you, he will be like Wu Dalin in the book. He will not die for 3 days and will be bedridden for 4 days. Wu Si-Quan turned to Wei Tiancheng and raised his nose. Luo Shanda replied calmly. I'm afraid that all the bones I've eaten will be left behind. I'm afraid. When Wu Si-Quan was about to speak again, her cell phone suddenly rang. Wu Si-Quan took out her phone and took a look at it. Then he smiled and restrained himself a lot. Han Qian squinted and glanced at Yates. This woman called Wu Si-Quan to remind her. Don't get carried away. My time calculation is pretty accurate, I really underestimated you. For a moment, Han Qian really wanted to take a rest, but why wasn't there a fuel-efficient lamp around him? Han Qian stood up, picked up a full glass of wine, and said loudly. The success of this plan is inseparable from the efforts of everyone. Han Qian is extremely grateful. I would like to toast everyone with this cup. After finishing his words, he raised his head and drank the wine in the glass. The 3 girls Tanjeo, Yates, and Wu Sijuan stood up at the same time, holding wine bottles in their hands. Tanjeo was the first to react, put down the wine calmly, picked up a tissue and wiped Han Qian's chin and collar, while Yates he bypassed everyone and came to pour the wine. At this table, she is the most suitable person to pour the wine, because everyone is a person in the plan, and they deserve to drink this glass of wine, but she does not deserve it. It would be unruly to sit motionless on the chair. Yates took Han Qian's cup and poured the wine. This cup was 9 points full, leaving out the 3 points of favor, because the meaning of this cup of wine was different. Han Qian found that Yates, a woman, really paid attention to details. At the same time, Yates Ji was also curious about how capable Han Qian was. Everyone here was destined to be the protagonist at any wine table, but here he was really reduced to a supporting role for Han Qian. Han Qian picked up the second glass of wine and said again, "I speak more frankly, and I don't treat you as outsiders. No one will suffer from the success of this plan. It doesn't matter whether it's for yourself or to return the favor. In short, no one will suffer. But I want to toast Miss Wu with this glass of wine. No one will suffer. Miss, we won't be sitting here drinking today, Sigwan. Han Qian respects you for this glass of wine." After finishing his words, Gao Xingcheng stood up and said in a deep voice, "A glass of wine in honor of Sigwan." Lu Guangming laughed. "If Miss Wu were a boy, I would definitely divorce my daughter and marry you, just because I'm afraid you wouldn't want to." Suddenly becoming the protagonist, Wu Sijuan was a little confused. At this moment, Yates, who had been next to Han Qian just now, appeared next to Wu Sijuan. He bent down and whispered softly in her ear. Wu Sijuan nodded in confusion. Opened his mouth but no words came out. Yates frowned and smiled bitterly. "I've already toasted you, drink it already. Why are you so nervous now?" Everyone laughed when they heard that Wu Sigwan was nervous, and Luo Shanda started to laugh. "I despise you for being such a coward to my best daughter." Being so excited, Wu Sigwan raised his head and drank the whole drink. Han Qian poured wine and said again, "This is a glass of toast to Vice President for being promoted to a glorious shareholder, to Lu Dong to get the second piece of land in Dongcheng, to Boss Tu to be successful in his transformation and about to receive a new project, to Director Luo to be promoted to a multimillionaire, and respect Director Wei and I for becoming close friends. Do it?" Everyone said in unison. Dry. Han Qian didn't know how much she drank. She was a little curious about the warm family gathering. What would happen there? Jiafu Dumpling House. This is a regular hotel where the Wen family gathers for dinner. The cost here is not high, and it is not big, but the food is excellent. There is nothing you can't think of, and there is nothing they can't make, and the name has a very good meaning. There were 2 tables in the spacious and bright private room, a gathering of more than 30 people. Wen Shi's family didn't have many people, but after the success, all the 7 aunts and 8 aunts came over to look at their backs. They were closer than brothers. All the compliments were received at the elders' table. Wen was too lazy to go over there to make do. She sat at the children's table and ate the food like chewing wax. She wanted to go home and have dinner with Han Qian. She just made a call and he was also socializing outside. Wen's mood became even more intense. "It's not good," he muttered softly. "Smelly old man." Wenya's cousin, was sitting next to Wen. Her expression had not been very good looking just now, and it was not good for her to take the initiative to disturb her cousin. When she heard her cousin speak, Wenya whispered curiously, "Sister, why didn't my brother-in-law come this time?" Mentioning Han Qian, warm interest came instantly, but thinking that Han Qian didn't come over today, his face became lonely again. He lowered his head and sighed. "He's having a bar tonight, and they're all well-known people in the city. He can't leave." "Oh. Brother-in-law helped you negotiate business?" Wenya had just graduated from university and was very unfamiliar with Han Qian's brother-in-law. She had seen him before, but she didn't know what he looked like. Wenya gently shook her head and whispered, "He handles his own affairs." As soon as he finished speaking, his warm cousin Wen Ru answered, "His own affairs? Can Han Qian's affairs be more important than our Wen family's party? Xianyuan, I'm not talking about you." What kind of conditions can't you find? You just found Han Qian, your son-in-law. I feel that young Master Lin is quite good, you are a talented man and a beautiful woman, why don't you just get divorced? Wen Nuan didn't raise his head, picked up an abalone, put it on Wenya's plate, and said softly. Han Qian is very good to me, why do you want a divorce? Xiao, eat more, you are too thin. Wenya nodded obediently, but when are you continued to speak reluctantly. Xiao Nuan, I'm from here. Our Wen family gathers once a year. Relatives from home and abroad will come over. Your brother-in-law is now the vice president of Shuncheng Group. The love plan that was planned tonight has been postponed. Han Qian, what's the matter? He's not coming? A prominent figure in the city is also talking to you. What's there to talk about with him, Han Qian? I think he's just afraid of being taught by his uncles and doesn't dare to come over. He must be lying to you. Why? There are so many respectable people eating with him. Wen are Yu's father and Wen Shi are aunts and brothers, and they are very close. They are also one of the few people who did not rely on Wen Shi to make a fortune. Wen are Yu worked as a white-collar worker in Shuncheng and met this vice president who was 8 years older than her. She is married for the second time, so she can treat her like a treasure and show off wherever she goes. With her harsh words, she is also the one Han Qian hates the most. The voices at the junior table were quite loud and had already disturbed the chatting of the elders. Wen are Yu's father and warm second uncle asked loudly. Xiao Nuan, that guy Han Qian can't come over today? I asked your dad just now. I heard from you that he has a dinner party tonight. What dinner party is more important than the family gathering of our Wen family? How can you be a son-in-law? He doesn't even understand the rules, what the hell is he doing? Wen Nuan lowered his head, his expression ugly. Every time Han Qian came, they would ridicule Han Qian, deliberately asking where he was employed, how much a month's salary was, etc. They all knew that Han Qian was not at work, and now Han Qian was not here. They were still like this. Nuan was too lazy to argue with them, lowered his head and said nothing. Her silence made everyone feel like they were victorious. In response to Han Qian's chirping words, a few arrogant guys accused Wen Shi, saying that he had bad eyesight. How could he choose a guy like Han Qian as his son-in-law? I wonder how a girl like Wen Nuan could get engaged to Lin Zongheng so early. When are you answered? I heard that Mr. Lin is still pursuing Wen Nuan. Fourth uncle, why don't Wen and Han Qian get divorced? This man cannot have a career. My husband is now a vice president in Shuncheng and manages hundreds of people. It sounds nice to say it out loud, but Han Qian doesn't have anything he wants, and Xiao Nuan doesn't even have a roof over his head. Wen lowered his head and fiddled with his phone. Wen Shu's expression remained unchanged and he left. My son-in-law is very good, filial, sensible, and good to Xianyuan. This is enough. Han Qian, who was drinking, received a text message. Han Qian, I was bullied. Han Qian put down his wine glass, stood up with his cell phone and walked out of the room. There are 400 chapters, which is close to 1 million words. I still remember when I first started writing, someone said that this book would not exceed 300 chapters. Well, let me tell you the truth, Han Qian is about to die. After the divorce, the ex-wife became a creditor. Author, Ahuan. Chapter 402. I called Nuan when I went out and was hung up, followed by a text message. They are all human, there is no way to pick them up, they are so annoying. Han Qian frowned and replied. Is it the Wen Runa girls who started it again, starting to show off his godfather husband again? I want to beat her up, but Lao Wen has a bad temper and won't say anything, and it's hard for mom to speak. I guess Wen you will start selling her brother-in-law again. She's so annoying that I won't come to the party next year either. I understand, you can eat in peace. Han Qian turned around and walked back to the box, smiling at Lu Guangming. "Brother Lu, can you help me?" Everyone at the Jiafu restaurant became more and more exaggerated, and Li Jinhe had already started to fight back. It was bad for her to curse, and she couldn't refute it after being spoken to by so many people. But when Nuan was eating seriously, and her appetite seemed to be even stronger than before. "All right." Wen Ya lowered her head and whispered. "Sister, don't pay attention to them. I feel that my brother-in-law is very nice. I heard from my fourth uncle that he is very nice to you." Wen Ru raised her head and smiled at Wen Ya. Wen Ru sneered in her heart when she saw this. She was not convinced by Wen. It was just because she had a good father, but your husband is a waste now. My husband is better than your husband. Her eyes were contemptuous. Looking at the warmth, he pretended to be concerned. "Xiao Nuan, I know a lot of returnees from overseas. Your brother-in-law's brother is very good. Now he is working as a prosecutor at the Yamen Gate. He is good everywhere, but he is a little fatter." Mentioning this fat man, Wen Nuan felt a little nauseous. He was only 1.7 meters tall and weighed more than 200 kilograms. He was just a ball of flesh. Wen Nuan raised his head and shook his head at Wen Ru. "I don't want a divorce. Xiao Nuan, your sister is right. A man must have his own career. Director Lu, the chairman of Shuncheng Group, thinks highly of me. From now on, you and my brother." Wang Kai held his eyes and looked at Wen Nuan. There was also contempt in his eyes. "How can your good-for-nothing husband be able to keep the shares in your hands?" He didn't finish his words because his cell phone rang. He took it out and looked at the number. Sun Kai immediately sat up straight and pressed the answer button, and spoke loudly and respectfully. "Director Lu, you are looking for me." The voice was loud and clear, as if he was speaking deliberately for everyone to hear. Lu Guangming stood in the corridor of the hotel and said calmly with his mobile phone. "I heard that your father-in-law's family has a gathering, right?" Sun Kai whispered. "Yes, Director Lu." Lu Guangming sneered and then cursed loudly. "Is there something wrong with your brain? Or is there something wrong with your wife? Damn it, if you have something wrong with your brain, don't bother me. Damn it, you are worthy of showing off as a vice president? Who do you think you are? If not, see you sending your sister to my bed, I will tell you to get the hell out of here right now. If you have any brains, just put your head down and eat. Don't be so stupid. What's going on? Tell Wen Shu, you still insist on having a small party in the Wen family. My brother is participating? If he doesn't go, you won't be able to eat? My brother wants me to come over for dinner tonight, so what? You have more weight than me? Ask Wen Sha if you dare to say that he is better than me." After saying that, Lu Guangming hung up the phone, turned around and walked into the box. Seeing everyone looking at him with strange eyes, Lu Guangming chuckled. Well, his sister is indeed pretty good. Besides, Brother Han, I really don't like your father-in-law's character. He's too soft. Don't mind. Han Qian chuckled. No, you and him are you and him, me and you are me and you conflict. Wang Kai was dumbfounded by the scolding. He stared blankly at the phone that was hung up, not knowing what he was doing. Lu Guangming's voice was loud and the people at the junior table could hear it clearly. Wen Ru looked at her husband's pale face. His expression was concerned. Dong Liu's sighed. Before he finished speaking, Wang Kai stood up, picked up a glass of white wine, and whispered. Nuan mi, my brother-in-law said the wrong thing just now. He drank too much. I didn't know that my brother-in-law and Director Lu were so close. Nuan didn't even turn his head and continued chatting with Wen Yat. However, the elder's table became quiet. He looked curiously at Wang Kai who was apologizing to Nuan. At this time, he thought about Wan Kai's phone call again, and Wan Kai's heart skipped a beat. I put down my glass and picked up the phone. As soon as I got through, I heard my brother wailing from the other side. "Brother, what have you done? I just received a call from my boss, asking me to reflect on it. I spent a lot of money to find out that you have offended someone who shouldn't be offended. It's your city. The senior official personally called our procuratorate and said that you want to introduce me to someone, brother. You have tricked me to death." Wan Kai's cell phone fell to the ground. He had been staring at Wenxi and Li Jinhe just now. Neither of these two elders called. If Lu Guangming was contacted by Nuan, then the people at the Yamen Gate were not so good at calling across cities. Simply put, this is a favor that a senior city official owes the procuratorate of a neighboring city. The box became quiet. Nuan turned his head to look at Wen Are You, and said softly, "Do you know why I don't get a divorce? Why don't you ask me who slapped Lin Zongheng's face not long ago without entering the door? Ask Lu Guangming, does he dare not go to the wine shop over there tonight? Lin Zongheng's face is my husband did it, and my husband asked Lu Guangming to come to tonight's drinking party. Cheng Jin and my husband drank all night at my house a few days ago, so you can just continue to slap you in the face. Do I have to slap you in the face to know it hurts?" Wen Are You's face was extremely ugly. Wan Kai picked up the wine glass and drank it all in one gulp, saying anxiously, "Nuan Mi, brother-in-law admits his mistake. Brother-in-law knows he is wrong. Can you?" "No, Cheng Jin and I are not familiar with each other. I want to tell you something else. Provincial Prosecutor Cai Qinghu is working as a secretary for my husband. Do you still want to introduce someone to me now?" Nuan didn't want to show any face to them. She sent a text message to Han Qian without saying who it was, so Han Qian guessed that it was Wen Are You and his wife. This was obviously because of the two of them. Han Qian would not come. Han Qian didn't come on. Wen Nuan is not happy. Maybe Han Qian won't care about you here. He keeps a low profile, but if he is not here, I will embarrass you. The elders at the table probably understood. The warm second uncle looked at Wenxi and whispered, "Old four." Wenxi closed his eyes and sighed, then opened his mouth to speak regardless of Li Jinhe's obstruction. "Xiaonuan, we are all a family, don't make things so unpleasant. Who is Han Qian having dinner with? I'll give him a call. Lu Guangming, Wei Tiancheng, Tu Xiao, Gao Jixian, Luo Shanda, you go ahead and fight. Let me see who can give you face over there. They are close to Han Qian and not familiar with you." Wen Nuan didn't want to speak directly, which made Wen Shu feel a little embarrassed for a while. His daughter was right. The guys over there really couldn't give him face. When Wen Shu was in trouble, Han Qian called proactively. "Dad, I heard that a lot of people were not happy that I didn't go over tonight. Things on my side are more important tonight and I can't leave. Tell them not to embarrass Xiaonuan. When I'm done with my work these days, I'll visit them from home." Just as when she was about to speak, another voice came on the phone. "Han Qian, let me tell you not to be Wenxi's son-in-law. He has it, and I, Wei Tiancheng, are just as good. As for my daughter, how many years will my daughter grow? How many more years? Forget it. It won't help if I grow up for a few years. It's annoying. Why did Wenxi give birth to such a beautiful girl? He doesn't look as good as I, Wei Tiancheng." After hearing this, Li Jinhe became angry, grabbed the phone and cursed angrily. "Wei Tiancheng, don't think about it in this life. My son-in-law is my son-in-law. Sister Jinhe is here too. Wei is wrong." Wei Tiancheng also drank too much, and Han Qian said a lot of good things to Wenxi, which probably meant that his parents shouldn't be angry if they couldn't go there tonight. After hanging up the phone, Wen Shu looked at his second cousin quietly and whispered, You don't know that my son-in-law is Han Chien? Han from South Korea, humble Chien, the protagonist of the Mid-Autumn Festival party. Everyone was in an uproar and turned to look at Wen Nuan, who was carefully choosing meat to eat. At this time, the box door was pushed open, and the owner of Jiafo restaurant trotted into the box while wiping his sweat, and kept flattering him as he entered. I'm being negligent. I wonder if you are relatives of Boss Tuesday, which one of you is Mr. Han's father-in-law. When she stood up slowly, and the boss of Jiafo bent down and said flatteringly, "Hello, Mr. Wen, I didn't know you were here, so I was neglecting you. This shop happens to have a treasure, so I'll give it to you." Hua Luo personally took the soup bowl from the waiter's hand and carefully placed it in front of Wen Shi. After Wen Shi opened the bowl, he frowned and said in a deep voice, "What kind of thing is it on?" Boss Jiafo gritted his teeth and whispered, "Tiger." The eyes of all the men at the elders' table were red. "This thing cannot be tasted only if you have money. It is a treasure with a price but no market." Wen Shu lowered his head and said in a deep voice, "Who asked you to send it here?" "Tu Xiao. This restaurant belongs to Tu Xiao." The boss replied in a low voice. "Yes. Who dares to look down upon Han Chien? No one knows you, the retired shareholder. It is only because you are Han Chien's father-in-law that I can give you this treasure." Boss Jiafo turned around and came to Nuansha, bent down to salute, and whispered, "Little aunt, the eldest lady is also downstairs. She is worried that coming here will cause trouble to you. She asked me to bring you a message. She will take Bio Z to visit door to door." Nuan waved his hand and said indifferently, "No, tell Xiao Tukan to be honest if she doesn't want to be beaten by her uncle. We are eating." "I understand, I won't bother you anymore."